I'm doing fine. Thank you for the interview.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah, almost 10 years, I guess.
Yeah, I cannot believe it since 2009, right? 2010.
2009, 2010, we were working at Belcorp. That was a very nice moment at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty
And
cool.
it's interesting now that we were talking that kind of our paths, started their entrepreneurial journey after Belcorp. Uh,
Yeah,
I think that's an interesting match. Um, uh, I really appreciate the time that you're giving us to share your knowledge, not only as an entrepreneur, but also as a specialist on neuroscience, and I think that's a very interesting angle, for everyone to see how does neuroscience can support entrepreneurs and help us be successful.
yeah. The neurosciences gives me this new perspective, I would say, about human behavior and the way we can better understand the natural process of, I would say, the consumers, but also people as a general, and how they behave, and in order to be able to follow those paths and being very, very, I would say, um, fluid with what they think and how they act, and understand much better how we can get a better relationship with them.
Why don't you take, like 3-4 minutes to tell us a little bit about, is it the Neuroscience Institute, right, that you have right now? What's the
Yeah,
type of work that you're doing?
the Institute of Neurocoaching.
Neuroculture.
Yeah, the Institute of Neurocoaching started as a, I would say, as a big question mark that I had about coaching, because I was formed and I was certified by several kind of schools in
Mm-hmm.
coaching, but I never found something very strong behind the methodology. So I was always, like wondering, why is that true? Should that be true? How does that work? And are the results really what they say it would be? So I started, like doing a lot of research about it, and I found out that there was a lot of things that were not proven. So in order to help people better, I need, because my former, I would say, studies were in engineering. So I said I need a process, a methodology that can help me much better understand how to perform better my skills in coaching. So I started, like reading a lot of articles and research about neuroscience, and then I did my second master degree in neuropsychology, and then I started, like understanding much better about human behavior. So what we do at the Institute of Neurocoaching are mainly two things. One is to form and certify people who wants to get the skills to become a neurocoach, a professional neurocoach. Um, and we give also, like a lot of conferences. We do a lot of research, and several, I would say, several fields, no, such as why are we addicted to cell phones, and why people vote on that way and not on another way, what happens to your mind, when you follow a leader, these kind of things that we investigate, and we publish research in journals, like scientific journals. So we are very sure about what we do. And the other things that we do at the Institute of Neurocoaching is to help companies perform better. And that involves a lot of things, such as people development within
Mm-hmm.
the company, and, like in leadership, communications, and other soft skills, but based into neuroscience. So it's much better to understand how the mind works, and why we are so afraid about changes and these kind of things. And the second thing that we do is, I would say, consulting.
Hmm.
for different kind of companies now towards their clients, understanding much better how to do like marketing and sales processes and this kind of I would say
How,
interaction with the clients.
how long ago did you start at the Neurocoaching Institute?
Well, we started around 2012 as initiatives, and then we consolidated the company maybe two or 3 years later because we wanted the company to be starting with some bases. So in order to do that, we started researching and do a lot of investigations around it. So we had some very solid basis in order to go to the market. And it has been very fun, very fun. We have a team which is all over the world, including Spain. We have people in Argentina, Costa Rica, of course, in Peru, Chile, and so on. No?
Amazing. As I was telling you, before the interview, so we kind of specialize on growth marketing as
Yep.
Serve Guru, and in particular towards startups. So one of our interests, when we interview people that come to this to our Serve Guru chat series, um, we try to understand what type of strategies have you followed to grow your customer base, to grow your revenue. Can
Yeah,
you talk a
well,
little bit about
it,
that?
there's a lot of things to think about when we want to access, I would say, customers or clients.
Hmm.
But the first thing that we need to think about is who is the persona of our company. And so we need to understand that a company is not, just a logo, but it has a life. And the life of that company must become a relationship with their clients, with their customers, and today with their fans. So we don't buy products. We buy, like the community, the
Hmm.
sense of the purpose on why we choose a company. And this becomes, I would say, with the new generations, you know, um, a more common thing to think about. We know that generation millennial and generation Z are so-called also generation Y, and it's because they always think about why should I choose this company before the other one, and why is this company performing that way, or why should I do it? So they have a lot of question about why. It's not about what, it's
Hmm.
about why. And why will go through a sense of purpose that we need to connect people with. So it's very interesting because, as an example, if we take the brand Nike, you know, they took a very, very strong position about, that movement, Black Lives Matters, no? And it seemed very risky at the beginning, like maybe my followers are not going to understand what we are doing. Maybe we're going to lose a lot of fans. Maybe we're going to lose a lot of clients and consumers. But something else happened. At the moment Nike stood up for those principles and rights, um, their value, in the stock market exploded, and people started, like feeling this is the brand I want to feel comfortable with. This is the brand that represents me. So any company, any person needs to think about the relationship and how their company lives in the mind and in the heart of the consumers. So this is a very cool point to understand, because it's very hard to understand what people are thinking about, but it's even harder to understand things that people are not aware they're thinking about. And those are the insights that we work on at the Institute of Neurocoaching. So we are very, very specialized, in with this kind of tools that we call the EEG, electroencephalogram,
Hmm.
to see what happens in the brain when you give a stimulus to them. Because as people, we tend to lie a lot. And in a focus group, I would say a traditional focus group, people will always tell you something like a social response, that is, like kind of correct way or political way to say things. But if you look deep inside the brain, you will understand that something else is happening. So we cannot trust their words, but we need to trust their feelings. 95% of what we do is not analytical. It's much more feeling. And so how can we measure that feeling? Well, this is what we do in neuroscience. We understand what's going on in the brain with these kind of things and a lot of other things such as eye tracker, face reader, and so on. So we support what we do with those tools, and it's magical.
With a lot
A
of
great point,
technology.
Mauricio. That's thanks a lot, Alfredo here. So when you think about the persona, you know how they react or think or make decisions. Many startups think about a pain point or a problem they have. So as far as the neuroscience, what problem you think you're solving for, or pain point for the user or the persona?
Yep. So this is the main problem of people is that they're not happy. That's it. So any stimulus that you want to give to them has one very significant thing for the brain. It helped them to get out from those feelings that they don't want, such as anxieties, like they're scared, or they're all these kind of sadness and things that they are feeling. And
Mhm.
whatever you propose to them for the brain is to help them to become so it's not a real problem that it's an analytical problem, but it helps the brain to free those pressures that they have, and this creates what we call dopamine. So the dopamine is
No.
very addictive, and you want to repeat the experience once again. So as when you watch Netflix, as an example, it's not that you have a problem, it's just that it makes you feel good.
Mhm.
Thanks.
And when you usually are confronting a market like the one you're in, where you're dealing with, at the end of the day you're dealing with emotions. How do
Yep.
you go around, trying to convince like more traditional um, clients, like the classic, manager that is like, oh no, but like show me the numbers of, the results that you're getting, or, like tell me how much am I going to increase my sales by hiring you? How do you go around that?
Well, there's always a big problem there because most of our clients ask for, NDA and confidentiality because they don't want anybody else to know about what we are doing for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard for us, to refer from our clients to new ones.
Right.
But there are studies that help us, and some studies says that at the minimum, the return of inversion is 7 times what they invest in us, depending on the service. Now, as an example, for coaching, this is what we have as a rate. Whatever you invest in us in terms of training or coaching and so on, you will receive at the minimum, 7 times what you invested in. But it's exponential as well. So when you come more into consulting, you
Mm-hmm.
need to perform and you need to get those results that the company is searching for. And so we have, I would say, some specific fee, and then we have a bonus fee based on the results. So we are very much focused on those
Interesting, interesting,
on those perks. Yeah.
interesting. So that's definitely a good selling point for someone that is looking to see the results.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I think most of the things, like some things that you're working on, are related, for example, to productivity, right? Like productivity in the workplace, I imagine must be something pretty recurring on your customers, right? How do I increase the productivity of my workers? Um, what are some of the things that you try to work, or like tips or hacks that you help these companies, in order for their employees to increase their productivity?
Well, it's very funny, Arturo. You know why? Because most of the things to become more productive in a company doesn't happen in the company. It happens in the lifestyle of the people. So, as an example, if a company wants to work on the productivity of their executives, they need to teach them how to sleep. This is very funny because it doesn't happen inside the company. But
Right.
we know from neuroscience and also biology and stuff that a person that is performer, very well performer in a company, sleeps well because he's I would say uh, his state of mind is
Mhm.
more like focused and concentrated, and they have better relationship with people and stuff. This is one thing. Also, we know that to get a better productivity in a company, you need to have less hour of work. So it sounds like, what are you talking about, Mauricio? You are asking us to reduce the number of hours in a company, and we are asking people to perform better. Yes, it's related because when you have less hours, that those few hours that you have to work get very, very focused and concentrated, and you are very keen on the time. you know when there's too many hours, people just I will do it later, so it doesn't matter if I arrive late to a meeting. So as an example, we can see the results on countries in Europe, such as France, that work 35 hours per week, no?
Mhm.
As a difference of Latin America, which is almost 48 hours a week. But the performance of France is so higher compared to Latin America. That is amazing. So what's going on? What is happening? What something happens that when you work less hours, that helps not only the individual, the company, but also the market to grow. Why? Because you get more hours to spend for leisure, for being in the streets with your family and stuff, and that helps entrepreneurship to
Mhm.
build on your lifestyle
More creative.
and more creative. And when people are happy, they work better, they perform much better. So there are those tricks. And then there are also management skills that needs to happen in companies, especially now that people are working in remote places. But agile leadership is a must today, and one of the key competencies that every leader needs to have is resilience, and that needs to be trained as well.
Interesting. So how do you train resilience, which is actually a question that I've seen quite often, because it's not, I'm not sure if it's hasn't been studied that much, or they don't exactly know where does it come from. But
Yes, of course, they don't know where it comes from, but we know that we can help people to build on it. So it could be from genes, your own genes,
mhm.
but it also could be a personality effect. But it depends also on the environment and how people are acting around you. So we perform very similar to the next six people around you. So you kind of
Okay.
an average on the behavior of the others. So if you start, building a strong culture in a company that will push people, to always have a vision of trust as to the future, being optimistic. If you train people to work on their emotional intelligence and social intelligence, it will help. It will help people, to keep their mind focused in possibilities. And so we need to train people to trust in themselves so they can lead in themselves, We need people to trust others so they can lead other people, but we also need people to trust uh, the future so they can lead in opportunities. So these are the three main areas that we have developed as a program for companies. It's called Leader Coach, and we help people to perform better around this model.
That's a great way to look at it, Mauricio, in terms of resilience. But sometimes life or the business world throws challenges to us, especially to us entrepreneurs. So, what has been your biggest setback as an entrepreneur, and how did you come back from it?
Yes, of course. I mean, the changes that we had also changed our nature of business. Um, Before the pandemic, I was traveling a lot around the world, like to do a lot of conferences. And today that's not possible. So
Right.
we need to switch very fast to the online model. Lucky for us, we already had that started. But, the mix is not the same. So for some reason, people think that when you do a conference online, they should pay less.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but well, it's the same level of preparation, and so on. Of course, you don't have to travel, but uh, I would say we needed to make those changes very fast in the model so we can have people keep their jobs in our company and keep on teaching others. And what we need then are some skills that we are not used to have or that we were not challenged to have, such as an agile mentality on work. So we worked a lot understanding better the agile methodologies, no, and starting, building, I would say, teams of work rather than just specific, traditional ways of marketing and then production and whatever. So teams are now working upon projects, and
Mhm.
that makes a lot of the efforts very fast also to see that it's not working.
Mhm.
We can change it faster rather than just programming a long time for a product and so on, and then see if it works or not. So it's very valid as a model of a performance, no? And I think that companies needs that a lot. So it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Interesting. You mentioned something about the influence within the company, and that this, I don't know if it was like 6 degrees, or that you would influence like 6 people around you. And that got me thinking a little bit about, like the CEO position, and how the CEO influences in an organization and the culture. Um, and I was thinking that that's also very important for entrepreneurs, because they usually start out with very small, very agile teams, but as you grow more and more successful, you end up having to lead a bigger team. And so, how has your company kind of approached that? Advising a CEO on how to, to develop their organization and work around it and the culture.
Well, it's very funny because last week I had a meeting with 15 top CEOs of Peru, and we discussed a theme that was very important, based on an article that I wrote. And that article was about what people needed from companies in not only in the pandemia, but also because of the social movement that happened and occurred in Peru. And what we discovered was that 87% of the people would love the companies and the marks of those companies to approach the political and social dilemmas in the countries.
Mhm.
So I was talking with the CEOs, and I said, is your brand, like taking a step on that? Are they talking about what's going on and how you can help people, and it's not happening, no. But then I ask another question and I say, why in countries such as the United States or even China and so on, we have the top CEOs of the companies, being, I would say, an influencer in the social networks, and why that's not happening in Peru, no? And I
Mhm.
say, should CEOs in Peru become influencers because they already are in their companies, but should they become a public influencer? And that was a very nice question because nobody thought about it. But I say, why, like Jeff Bezos is so well known, and Elon Musk, and then Jack Ma, and so on. And why we don't know any CEOs in Peru? I mean, ask the common people in the streets, they probably don't know who is the top CEO, of Belcorp or so on, Um, so that was a good question, and we started, saying, should CEOs become influencers, and should they start, being giving their positions in LinkedIn and other social network. Some people said yes, some people said no. There's not I would say, a rule for it. But when we do executive coaching for top CEOs, those are the questions that we ask. And we evaluate what's better, not only for the company, but also for the CEO himself, and also for the employees. Because we know now that the reputation of a company is not only based in what they're good at, is making the product, but also what people feel within branding and the cycle of life within the company.
Mhm.
We are not at the point maybe 10 years ago when somebody was fired from a company, he would not say anything about their employer, even though they were very bad employers. Today, people are not afraid of saying, last company, the employer was shit. I mean,
Mhm.
so that changed a lot.
I think it's right. It's a process where the CEOs are also kind of evolving on what their role is, and we've gone from the traditional like CEO about like revenue and profits. We are probably in Latin America somewhere in the middle where CEOs now understand their internal role as leaders and motivators of the organization.
Mm.
But now they need to become aware of the other part of the equation, which is, hey, now people are demanding even more about you, and they want you kind of out there and have an image and know you more and what you think and what are your values at the end, right? And see if, with what you were telling at the beginning, is there a match between the values of the brand and my values, right? The why. Why are companies doing
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. Yeah, especially because we know today. I mean, there's so many studies that say that money can't buy, happiness, and people are
Mhm.
looking more for, like a fair way of living, rather than just collecting money. And of course, money is important when you're really, at the bottom, and when you need some, I would say, security in your life. But then, having much more money doesn't really change your way of thinking, of feeling. And this is a movement also that happened and occurred in the way that we measure countries. So, like El PBI, uh, was always the way that we compared countries, but it's not anymore. I mean, it's one indicator, but today we also take into consideration the level of happiness in the countries. And I mean, there are countries that started that more than 10 years ago, and some countries are moving along with that movement, such as in New Zealand. As an example, they said, well, if we need to work for the country, we need to work for the level of happiness of our people, and not only because we need people to have a lot of money. We need both things to compare. And that happens at the gross level, but also within the companies. Companies today needs to be taking care of the mental health of their employees. And taking care of the mental health of their employees is taking care of their happiness,
Mhm.
and helping them being better and have a, like, a balance of life, and feel that they are building something for the society and not just for the pockets of, I would say, the owners. So it
That's a
changes a
great
lot, the
that's a
relationship.
great point.
Mm.
And I think going back again to your earlier point about you are the average of the best of the six people that you usually interact with and whatnot. When it comes to starting a new business or pursuing a new idea, how do you um, bounce back? Do you bounce back ideas with friends? Do you have like a group of mentors that influence your decision making or your thought process, or you prefer to keep it to yourself while having everything figured out and then go to market?
Well, I talk a lot about my ideas because I think that it's better to challenge them, and have people that think alike. Sometimes it doesn't work because we are, like, all thinking about the same thing, and we think that's beautiful. So we need people that don't understand the idea to react on our ideas. And so, yes, I network a lot, and we have a group of I'm part of a group of people here in Peru that we think about, what can we do. But the initial question is very interesting, because the question is, what can we do to build a better society in Peru?
Mhm.
That's the starting point, you know. And one of the ideas that I brought was, how can we solve the problem of accidents in the roads,
Mhm.
because it's one of the first, like, killing points.
Yep.
So yes, there are more lives that are in danger in the roads that, as a cancer, I would say. No, and so we researched from that, and we started a startup here in Peru, and we represent a company called Mobile Eye, which is an Intel company now, which has artificial vision, and we are helping companies to reduce their accidents, as an example. So when you have the right question, you can solve problems at a big scale, I would say. But if you start thinking, how can I make more money? It's never going to be a good idea.
Interesting. So kind of my last question. Um, I wanted to ask you about your experience as a you giving your speech at TEDx
Oh yeah, that was very
TEDx
cool.
conference. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I thought it was
Yes,
really
so it
curious.
all started up with research that I did, and the research was, like, Arturo, I've been teaching, leadership in so many business schools and so on. And the only question that people would ask me is, how can I become a better leader? Which is a good question. All right.
Mhm.
But it's also a question from the ego. See what I mean?
Yep.
And I said, no, I need to understand better something else. And the question was, why? Why do we follow leaders? That was the question that I started with, and so we started to do some research, and we took a group of people, and then we put those things on the heads to understand what is happening in the brain where when they are in front of leaders, what is happening in their brains. And so that's how it started. Then the results showed that the brain, from a moment that you're alone and the moment that you're from focused in a leader, will help you to get better. So it's very, very interesting. And that article, I think that I published it in Gestion,
Mhm.
in Peru. well, got a lot of views and so on. So I was invited to perform at TEDx in Quito, in Ecuador, about that theme. That was very cool, actually.
And
Very cool
it takes a
experience.
lot of preparation, right? From what I've heard.
Yes, yes, yes. A lot of preparation because it's only 18 minutes, and you need to give the essential there. And so, yeah, you need to perform a lot and try and try and try. But it's very cool because I think that it helps a lot people to understand, in few minutes what they need to understand, and then if they want more they will search for you. That opened a lot of doors for me,
Mhm.
to get well known from that side.
Great.
Amazing.
The last question from me, Mauricio, would be being a music fan myself and seeing
Yes.
all the guitars that you have on the back. What's your favorite album?
Well, I will show you. I think I have it there. This is the one,
Nice.
Nice.
and it's signed.
Wow.
Excellent.
I used to work in the music industry in France, so I met them and I met a lot of artists. And so I'm not an artist myself. I mean, I can play a little bit, but it is also interesting to understand from the business in music. It has changed so much also.
Dramatically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Mauricio, thank you very much. We really appreciate the time that you've given us. I think it's really some really really interesting insights, and we hope to have you in another opportunity. Okay.
Of course. Thank you so much, Arturo, Alfredo. It was a real pleasure sharing with you, and I'm quite sure we're going to talk some more
Yeah.
another time.
Likewise.
Take
All the
care.
best. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
Bye.